I'd like to call our meeting this afternoon to order. We have a quorum. And Mr. Norwick, you meet me at the podium, please. Thank you.
Austere group.
Feels different being on that side, doesn't it?
You know, it's a little different. Hey, John, how you doing? Good to see you.
Not saw the hanging snoozes.
You what?
I said you must not have saw the hanging snoozes.
No, I didn't.
We're gathered together here to give Ron Norwick a certificate of appreciation for his service. And with that, I would like Francis to read that resolution to us, please.
My pleasure. Whereas Ronald J. Norwick served as mayor of the city of Oklahoma City from 1987 to 1998, and whereas during his tenure as mayor, Ronald J. Norwick built an unprecedented coalition of business, civic, neighborhood, and elected leaders joining forces to produce and promote a unique ballot initiative designed to enhance the quality of life and the economic climate in Oklahoma City, leading directly to the successful Metropolitan Area Projects, known as MAPS, election in December 1993, which powered an unparalleled urban renaissance and in which significant improvements to the then North Canadian River were included. Whereas on March 20th, 2001, Ronald Norwick graciously accepted an appointment by then Mayor Kirk Humphreys to serve as chairman of the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority. Whereas during his 10 years as chairman, Ronald J. Norwick led efforts to fully and properly implement the full package of river components included in the 1993 MAPS ballot initiative. During his 10 years as chairman, Ronald J. Norwick conceived the concept of a river-based family-oriented holiday parade event, which quickly became a highly popular holiday tradition in Oklahoma City, celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. Whereas Ronald J. Norwick led the effort to launch the river transit service currently marketed as Oklahoma River Cruises, and personally raised over $2 million in private sector contributions needed to complete a fleet of custom-designed watercraft, christened as the Devon Discovery, Devon Explorer, and the Devon Pioneer. Whereas Ronald J. Norwick saw the importance of activating the 14 miles of newly created riverfront shoreline, encouraging diverse activities including fishing, rowing regattas, drag boat racing, and boat parades. Whereas Ronald J. Norwick led efforts that paved the way for development of Regatta Park, the Boathouse District, and the designation of the Oklahoma River as an official U.S. Olympic training site. Whereas during his tenure as chairman, Ronald J. Norwick encouraged countless riverfront initiatives in locations along the entire 7-mile Oklahoma River corridor, including the Stockyards District, Bricktown Landing, Arrow Meridian Hospitality Corridor, and the American Indian Cultural Center and Museum. Now therefore be it resolved by the trustees of the Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority to extend their deepest appreciation to past chairman and tireless Oklahoma River champion, Ronald J. Norwick, for 13 years of outstanding service.
Thank you.
What a resume. All of Oklahoma City is proud of you, and I'm proud to be able to
Thank you.
offer this resolution to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, everything you said was not a one-man show, I can assure you that. It was all these people up here that I had the pleasure of serving with, and I joined the River Trust when I joined the City Council in 1987, so what's that, 26 or 27 years that I was involved. And I remember growing up in Oklahoma City, the river was a big divider. If you lived on the north side of the river, you didn't go south. And if you lived on the south side of the river, you didn't go north. And now it's the biggest uniter that I think we have in the city. And it's one of the, I remember the polling of the original maps. We had 9 projects. We did polling to see how we were going to do. And if we'd have believed the polling, which we probably should have, we wouldn't have ever put that on the ballot. We wouldn't have put anything on the ballot. There were only 2 projects that even came close to a majority, and that was just a barely 50%, and that was the river and the library. Everything else was in the 20s and maybe low 30s. But you can see what happened, and I knew my time had kind of come to an end. It was time for me to move on. I was out of out of the state for about 4 months out of the year. It wasn't fair to you all as members of the River Trust or the river itself, so I felt like it was time, but I want to congratulate all of you because all of you served with me for many, many years, and I feel confident you'll probably continue to serve for many, many years, but it's really a great project, one that really I think has united this city. Did we have any idea it was going to develop like it did? Not a chance. I don't think any of us would have ever guessed that. Originally talked about putting water in the river and being able to enjoy that, but to have a Olympic trading site and all the other things that go along down there, I don't think any of us, I know I couldn't have ever imagined that. And I remember when Mike Knopf, I don't know if Mike's here or not. Yep. I remember when Mike came to River Trust many years ago and told us what he wanted to do to the river, we all had that deer in the headlight kind of look, kind of went, well, I wonder who this guy is. He's really not hurting anything right now. We'll just let him keep talking, we'll let him keep talking. Eventually, he talked us into doing something that's kind of almost an experiment, and now look what's turned out. It's just a phenomenal attraction down there, and all of you and Mike and all the people associated with that ought to be really proud, and I do appreciate this very much, and I'll get it framed and hang it in my office and be very proud of it. Thank you.
I'll move that resolution.
By the way, a framed copy will be provided to you. Okay. We have a motion and a second. Any comments? Please vote. Item is approved. Thank you. Our next item is update from Oklahoma City Riverfront Redevelopment Authority Committee activities. This, number one, is a recommendation from the Development and Water Use Committee on an ordinance to amend Section 1038-723 of the Municipal City Code. I'd like to call on Kathy Williams to give us an update on that committee meeting, please.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Our committee just met reviewing this ordinance. The city manager's office asked us to review this Article 10 because we wanted to be in compliance with the activities along the river. And basically what this ordinance will do is it provides the activities that are now prohibited, those activities to occur at certain locations and at certain times with the authority of Acura or the city, and once it's been posted. So, in other words, we will be able to have the stated activities in this ordinance allowed along the river in certain areas.
Any questions from anyone on that report? Is there a motion to receive that report?
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Might mention this item will come up later in our agenda for approval of the trust. Item C is update of MAPS 3 River Subcommittee activities.
And on the this past month when we had our meeting, most of it was centered on the Whitewater and final land acquisition and getting it out for bid, and then just completion on some of the other ongoing projects that are going on. So I think everybody's anxiously awaiting the bidding and getting the Whitewater underway.
Any questions of Brian? Motion to receive his report.
Second.
Item is approved. Item 3 is approval of the minutes of June 17th. Any comments or questions about those?
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item 4 is a consent docket. We have two items, A and B, sand mining and oil revenue report, and B, river corridor events update.
Move the item.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question on the oil and gas projects we've got there. Do either of those use, the systems out there use hydraulic fracking?
Anybody have?
I don't know the answer to that, but I'll be glad to take a look at it and get back to you on
Okay,
it.
thank you. I think it would give us some caution.
Any other questions or comments on that? We have a motion and second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item 5, primary agenda item. Item A is to receive Oklahoma River maintenance projects update.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Eric Winger, Public Works Director for Oklahoma City. We have continued several projects on the river at the moment. We've got the hydraulic cylinder replacements that I know that you've probably received updates in the past, and this involves the 3 dams that are along the river. There are continued replacements at Brum and May dams. Those 2 dams are actually very similar. The Brum Dam hydraulic cylinders should be finished this fall, and we hope to finish up the May early spring. So that's an ongoing process, and obviously we've got to maintain uptime on the river, so those are done in stages just to making sure that we keep the river operational. I'm happy to report on the Eastern Dam, though, there was a very significant effort placed last week. A lot of public works crews under the leadership of Sam Sladen, he's also in the room with us today, were able to replace all of the cylinders on Eastern. So as we have an increased number of events in the Eastern Basin, those cylinders were all replaced in 1 week's time, and so they're all new, basically, at this point, and so we're happy to report that. 2 other activities, Canal Zone G, the extension. I know there's been a continued interest in, of course, our accessibility, especially from the pedestrian level, and accessing underneath the Union Pacific Railroad. Earlier this month, on the 1st, the canal agreement was approved by the City Council, and it's been sent to UP for a final agreement. We do have a revocable in place, so as of the end of last month, we've had access not just for the boats, but also for pedestrian access, and we don't anticipate that having to come back offline at any point in the future. So we were able to finally secure the insurance that was required by the railroad. That insurance is in place. The canal is open, so we advise all that if you have an interest in accessing the area from the Bricktown area into the Boathouse District, to please use those sidewalks that were constructed as a part of the canal. And then the last project that I'll update on is the May Avenue Dam Control House Foundation and floor leveling project that was approved this morning by the City Council. That control house at that May Dam was built about 10 years ago, and with that, there was some settlement that occurred that has to be corrected. The price for this is just under about $100,000 to do the leveling. But one of the things that makes this complicated and a little bit different than a normal foundation repair is that all of the hydraulic lines, all of those pneumatic lines that control the gates actually come up through the floor into the boathouse. So we've got to be careful to make sure that those aren't damaged when that floor is reset. And so that's why the cost might appear a little bit higher than maybe something that we would do on a different type of project, but that work has been approved and we anticipate it to be completed here in the next month or so. So with that, I can answer any other questions you might have about river maintenance activities.
The hydraulics haven't been damaged at all by the actual settlement?
They have not.
Good.
And Eric, we're waiting to hear from, is it FEMA perhaps, on some approvals for the Whitewater location?
So as a part of the MAPS 3 Whitewater project, yes, there is a floodplain revision that is required for that project to be fully constructed. It's not going to slow down the bidding of the project, which it's already out to bid, bids to be received later this month. But before we can actually finally construct the project, there is a map revision that is pending FEMA's approval, but we expect that here maybe just the next 45 to 60 days.
Okay, so it's, at this point, the map is in their hands and they just need to approve the revisions to our map?
Yes, and our preliminary indications are that all the engineering meets all the criteria, so we're not anticipating any questions or further comment. There is just a process that it has to go through, and so we're just in that period.
Anything else? Eric, I'd like to thank you and everybody else involved with the pedestrian access thing that's been so difficult and trying, so appreciate everybody's effort on making that happen.
You're very welcome.
Anything else? Thank you.
you.
Motion to receive his report, please.
So moved.
Been moved in second. Record your vote, please. Item is approved. Item B is to receive quarterly Oklahoma River Cruises update. Afternoon.
Good afternoon. The 2014 season of Oklahoma River Cruises is well underway. Ferry service ridership did suffer some in May. We had a week of bad weather. We had a week of some dam repairs. However, June showed a very nice recovery. Due to the efforts of the Public Works Department to keep the dams and locks in good repair, we anticipate this will be a very strong season for us. Adult ridership has risen to 54%. That's roughly 9% more than last month. And riders per service hour is above our target of 10. Charters year-to-date are up 116%. Staff attributes this to the increase in our marketing efforts pointed towards charters in addition to public service, but we've put a little more push on the charter element, and it's paying off. We're getting lots of charter activity. Specialty cruises have not suffered. They're maintaining their popularity. The relaxing sunset cruises on Fridays and the party cruises on Saturdays guarantee to attract any type of specialty cruise rider. We've added 2 new specialty cruises this season. Put a Cork in the River features a wine tasting with Put a Cork in It Winery of Bricktown. The first event is scheduled for July 31st from 7 to 9 p.m. That event has sold through, so we are full for that cruise. Sunset Live, featuring musicians from the Academy of Contemporary Music at the University of Central Oklahoma. That event occurs the 3rd Friday of each month. It replaces the normal Sunset Cruise with a live music event in the plaza prior to the Sunset Cruise. And if you're interested, there are 4 seats left available for this month's cruise. The Fireworks Cruise sold out all 3 boats. They sold out 6 weeks prior to the event. It was a great event. The event took place during the Sandridge Energy Stars and Stripes River Festival on June 28th. And the other upcoming specialty cruises are shown above here. Marketing activities for Oklahoma River Cruises continue with radio advertisements purchased through Monarch Marketing Group. We also have television appearances the second Tuesday of every month on KSBI's Oklahoma Live program. We have online advertising with The Spy, public service announcements through Frontier Country, just about every event calendar we can find on in the area we send our things to. I have heard our announcements on NPR. And of course the big news is the opening of the Bricktown Landing. This addition to the transit stops for ferry service enhances Oklahoma River Cruises' ability to get visitors from the Meridian District hotels into Bricktown. Water taxi wristbands are on board each vessel to facilitate the transition from the river cruiser to the water taxi. I will tell you about 40% of our riders are visitors from other countries, other cities, either visiting family or just doing the Route 66 run. They stop and they ride our boats, and we're very pleased to be able to bring them from Meridian directly into Bricktown and the downtown area. And with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Junie, I have a question. When you say all of the seats are full, how many passengers on the cruise?
Each one varies. For something like, we have Edgar Cruise coming up on August 8th. We'll only take 24 for that because a lot of people will want to sit inside and listen to the music. If it's a regular Sunset Cruise, we'll take up to 32 because people like to walk around the boat, move around the bow, and the Sirius radio, of course, plays inside and outside the river cruiser. So we adjust the number of passengers per specialty cruise based on the type of event and what sort of space limitations we might have for people to enjoy the full event.
Okay, and then my other question was on television. Are we on the mayor's program on Channel 20?
We were
advertise on that?
We were featured in May on the mayor's, I should remember the name of the program.
I know, I'm sorry, I apologize, I don't remember.
Mayor's Magazine. We were featured in May for the Mayor's Magazine.
Okay, and that's the only time where people see that we have the cruises and
on Channel 20?
Uh-huh.
As far as I know.
Seems like that would be such an easy thing to do.
I'll speak to our marketing director about that, because I'm sure we could put together some sort of video and have it included.
Are we working on training the hoteliers down in the Meridian area to know that the walkway is now open? I mean, are we making a special effort so they...
Yes, our marketing and event coordinator, Shay Loisberg, has spent time with hoteliers. She frequently visits, and whenever there's a new hotel or a new activity, we attend. Some of them come to the River stakeholders meetings, and we always manage to touch base with them there, and they're very excited about what's going on and what's occurring. We've also told them, if you want to get together a party cruise, we would charge them the same as a sunset cruise. Bring the people down, we'll have the food in the cash bar and do an event just for them. And there's some interest in that. I think that will become more of an activity once more of the extended stay hotels open up. There's a new one called Home 2 that'll be directly next to our landing. And I spoke to some people from that group, and they said average stay can be anywhere from 20 to 24 days. So there's a marvelous opportunity there to pull some riders in.
I just think now that they can get into Bricktown directly, it's huge, and we really need to be tooting our horn about that. It's taken a long time to get here, and
Yeah,
really need to take advantage of it.
I tell people it's a little quicker than a bus ride, and it's a lot cheaper than a taxi.
And a whole lot more fun.
Yes.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you. Is there a motion to receive her report? We've moved and seconded. Record your vote, please. Item is approved. Item C, a related item, is a resolution approving financial participation in the amount of $50,000 for the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority for sales and marketing for river cruises for service year 2014.
Second.
Moved. Yes, Pat?
Do we generate enough revenue to pay for that, just the river cruises?
Pat, can you address that?
We generally generate enough revenue for both that and the holiday boat parade underwriting that we come up with every year. There are some years that, because of fluctuation in commodity prices, either oil and gas or the sand mining, of course, aggregate materials, we may fall a little short or be a little ahead, but in general, yes.
My curiosity was based on the fact that, a question about my curiosity, on the advertising, $50,000 we just approved or about ready to approve, is the revenue from the ferry boat operation cover that?
The revenue from that we receive is from the commodity sales, basically oil, gas, and the sand mining.
What happens to the revenue that boats?
All of the revenue goes into the general Riverfront Authority account, and then it's budgeted every year. Usually it's April or May that this body considers a budget, and we budget in those kinds of expenses, and we fall within the budget each year.
But my question is, I guess, more directed to, do the ferries pay for themselves?
Do the ferries pay for themselves? The ferry boats?
River cruises,
River cruisers, yeah. Those do receive an annual subsidy, and I don't have that number with me. Jeannie may know it, but it does receive a subsidy operationally. The original capital expenditures came largely from some federal grants, and then, as was mentioned a little earlier when former Chairman Norick was here, a little over $2 million in private funds were raised to provide the capital. And then the operating budget varies year to year, but there is a level of subsidy that comes from the city. And it's, again, budgeted and approved by various bodies.
Thank you.
Yes.
Any other comments? Have a motion second. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item D is a memorandum of understanding between the Riverfront Redevelopment Authority and Oklahoma City Events and Entertainment, LLC, for sponsorship by Okra in the amount of $25,000 for the Christmas River Parade, November 28th.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? Please record your vote. Item is approved. Item E.
One more year, Mike?
I promised Ron 10 years. This is the 10th year. But I might make a comment, Mr. Chairman, if I may. Thanks to the support of the city each year, there are funds that actually come out of the parade from the sponsorship money that's left over. And so it's a good investment you've made over the past 10 years. And currently the fund in the Community Foundation is nearing about $800,000, I believe, Pat. So eventually, when that fund hits $1 million, there'll be some money from the interest each year that we'll reinvest back into the city. So I think it's important to point that out with the support that y'all have given each year, that we have built up this fund at the Community Foundation that will benefit the river. So, thank you.
Thank you. Item E is the recommendation of the ordinance relating to the Parks Recreation that we talked about at the beginning of the meeting. Are there any other comments on it? Is there a motion?
The Land Use Committee recommends approval of this.
Item is moved and seconded. Please record your vote. Item is approved. Moving to item 6, claims. Item A is our claims docket.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Any comments? Please record your vote. The item is approved. Moving on to section 7, comments from the staff. Pat, comments on our redevelopment report?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, trustees, the report is in your packet. A couple of items of special note. One is that we will recommend that this meeting in August be held at the Boathouse District. There is a committee involved here at the city of staff that's planning a very nice groundbreaking ceremony for the MAPS 3 Whitewater Center. And the date coincides with our next Riverfront meeting. So the recommendation is that you consider moving your meeting to 2 o'clock instead of 1 o'clock, and to hold it at the Boathouse District so that you could attend both the groundbreaking, which I'm certain most, if not all, would like to do, and then go to the reception thereafter, and then move straight into your meeting at 2 instead of 1. And so staff is recommending that you consider that, and have mentioned that to the chairman and would so recommend. Otherwise, we've had a flurry of interest expressed by outside development interests, including the effort underway currently to update the master plan for the former downtown air park, currently what's being called the Wheeler District, that the Humphreys are undertaking. So a real spike, I think, in the last 30 days even, in terms of those kinds of external interests. So things are moving well and at an unusually quick pace for a summer, I might add. So if there are any questions, I'd be happy to address them. Otherwise, would request that the report be received as submitted.
Move approval.
Been moved and seconded. Any other comments? Please record your vote.
Thank you.
So are there any objections or concerns about having the groundbreaking at 1 and moving our meeting to 2? And that meeting will be at a river location, and we'll let you know either in the finish line or probably the Devon. But we'll all be notified about that. Any other comments from any of the trustees? Any comments from anyone in the audience? Mike?
I'm Mike Knopp with the Oklahoma City Boathouse Foundation. I wanted to, first of all, mention that on Friday, you are all invited. We have put together a send-off little luncheon for our elite athletes, and I bring this up because they're going to the Netherlands for the World Championship. And as Mayor Norick had suggested, who would have thought we'd be an Olympic training site, years ago. And I tell people around the country who are still amazed that Oklahoma City has become such a center for the sport that it was people like Mayor Norick and yourselves who didn't think I was crazy when I first brought this up. But an event like what is happening Saturday is a reminder that we truly have people that have moved here fulfilling their dreams. And what's very unique about this situation is the fact that they're not only coming here and going to the World Championship, they're expected to do very well. And at the World Cup earlier this year, they won a silver medal. So first time in 15 to 20 years that they've been competitive at this level, which they attribute fully to Oklahoma City and the kind of support they've received. So I encourage you, if you don't have any lunch plans on Friday, to come to the Finish Line Tower, and we'll be doing a little send-off for our athletes. So thank you very much.
Thank you. There are no other comments. Have a motion for adjournment. Thank you.